So, as we learned in the history lesson, Oklahoma uses the U.S. government survey system to determine legal descriptions. You can trace your description from the initial point of where the baseline and the Indian Meridian intersect. Remember, we talked about the Indian Meridian. The territory was first divided into east and west. Today, this line is known as the Indian Meridian. Then it was divided into north and south by the baseline. Next, the quadrants, which are known as quadrangles because they are 4 townships by 4 townships, each township being 6 miles by 6 miles. We've got the townships over here. The townships were further broken down into 36 sections. Each section is 1 square mile. They are numbered 1 through 36 in a serpentine pattern. You can remember where section 1 starts because it's the same place you would start writing an S.
I remember. First, the state was divided into east and west. Today, this imaginary line is known as the Indian Meridian.
Very good. You can trace your description from the initial point of where the baseline and the Indian Meridian intersect to your quadrangle, township, section, and so on.
That is so cool. But wait, when the Pilgrims got off the Mayflower, did they do a land run?
No, the land run is unique to Oklahoma.
So how did the U.S. government survey system work in land that was settled before, there was a U.S. government or a U.S. government survey group?
Okay, I see your point, and that is actually a very good question. Real property can be described in 3 different ways. 1, the U.S. government system. 2, metes and bounds. And 3, recorded plats.
What is metes and bounds?
Metes and bounds are not brief or simple. This type of description is mostly found in eastern states when the lands were claimed before lot descriptions were needed for tax and property transfer purposes. It works like this.
A tract of land located in Alfalfa County, Oklahoma, described as follows. Beginning at the confluence of the Medicine and Salt Fork rivers, thence north 660 feet along the center line of said Medicine River, thence due west 2,475 feet, more or less, to Highway 58-8. Thence south 675 feet, more or less, along said center of the Salt Fork River, then east 2,460 feet, more or less, along said center line back to the point of origin.
Test clue.
Test clue.
Just remember that in a metes and bounds description, it starts at the point of beginning, goes to a monument or marker or 2, and back to the point of beginning.
I am so glad that I do not live in the country and have to find my house by some description of an old tree. You see, I live in suburbia, and my house looks exactly like my neighbor's.
If you live in a suburban neighborhood, your legal description is most likely the 3rd possible type of legal description, a recorded plat.
I know this one. You see, I got to build my own house in my suburban neighborhood, which means I got to pick my own plat from the plat map. I picked the largest lot at the end of the classiest cul-de-sac, all so I could lord my superiority over my neighbors.
Oh, wow. Sounds like you're probably super popular at the block party. Warning, you are now entering the math section. Please note that even if you miss every single math question, you can still pass the state exam. Non-math people, you can do this. These legal description problems always seem overwhelming because it's a lot of numbers and a lot of letters and it doesn't really make sense. But they're actually very easy because they all start the same way. You're always going to start with 640 because that's how many acres are in a square mile. And this one has 2 parts. We've got the ampersand in the middle, so we're going to treat it like 2 equations. We're going to start with 640 on this side, find our answer, and then do the same thing on this side, add the 2 together. So to start, we have the west 1/2, which the direction really doesn't matter. All we care about is the fraction. So we're going to start with 640 and divide by 2. That's the only number we care about. So that equals 320. Then moving on to the next part, we're going to divide by 4. So 320 divided by 4 equals 80. So that's going to be our answer for the first half. Now moving on to the other side of the ampersand, we're again starting with 640. And then we're going to divide by 2. That equals 320. Moving on to the next part, divide by 2. And that equals 160. For the last part, we're going to divide by 4. So 160 divided by 4 equals 40. And now we're going to take the answers for the two halves and add them together. So 80 plus 40 equals 120. So in this legal description, there are 120 acres. A mile is 5,280 feet or 1,760 yards. An acre is 43,560 square feet, and a section is 1 square mile, which is 640 acres. Test clue.
Test clue.
You will need to know how many acres are in a square mile, which is 640. Test clue number 2.
Test clue.
How many square feet are in an acre? 43,560. I always remember this just by telling myself 43,560. But another way to picture it is 4 people driving down I-35 at 60 miles an hour. See, that wasn't so bad. You can do this. That concludes chapter 4. See you for chapter 5.